To our lead story now, it's this earthquake in Afghanistan where at least 1,000 people have been killed so far. More than 1,500 people have been wounded. Those numbers are certain to rise. And joining us live now is the CEO of Care Australia, Peter Walton. Peter, good morning to you. What can you do?
There's a lot we can do, Peter. The situation in Afghanistan was grave even before yesterday's earthquake. This is a country that's economically very fragile, has issues of food security and famine, and obviously is dealing with COVID, as we all are, with very low vaccination rates. So, this is a country in need of a huge humanitarian support, and the earthquake, as you have just said, the numbers are going to go up in terms of the death toll, but there's a huge amount of numbers of people who are impacted in terms of losing their homes, injuries, basically missing out on a lot of the basic requirements for survival. Organisations are there, and there is a humanitarian exemption to be able to provide support. So Care Australia, and we've been operating there for many years, is mobilising a response as we speak.
What are the challenges that you face of where this earthquake has struck, though?
So we have worked in that region for about 10 years now. It is quite a remote region on the east side of the country with a lot of remote villages, and the landscape, as you can see from the images, is very mountainous. Some of the challenges are going to be access, making sure that we can get to some of the remote villages and supporting the work there, and also just the general capacity. A lot of agencies left Afghanistan last August at the fall of Kabul, so mobilising support to local organisations, local communities is really key. We've deployed a medical team which is now in Khost, which will be able to provide some first aid, some trauma support, and also a whole series of non-food items to basically help people get through this awful, devastating tragedy.
And what issues, if at all, might you have upon dealing with the Taliban?
So whilst there are sanctions and a lot of countries don't recognise the Taliban, there is actually a humanitarian exemption. So CARE is an organisation that works very carefully to ensure that we uphold principles of impartiality, neutrality and independence, and that we actually focus the aid on, I guess, the innocent civilians that are suffering through this. As everybody would know, there's a lot of attention, understandably, on Ukraine, but the situation in Afghanistan just continues to deteriorate. So it is, a massive issue, and so many innocent civilians need our support.
Yeah, and just outline some of those conditions that are continuing to deteriorate beyond the earthquake.
So it's a country where vaccination levels are only around about 10 or 12%. So COVID continues to devastate the country. But it's also a country which is on the verge of economic collapse, given what's happened over the last year. And we are seeing up to 22 million people at risk of chronic food security or famine. So this is a sort of a humanitarian situation, which is just one issue is compounding the other.
Yeah.
And an earthquake in the eastern side just makes things worse and indeed much harder. But we are certainly trying to shine a spotlight back on Afghanistan and believe that there's a lot that Australia can do to provide support right now, and in terms of helping so many people who will be suffering in the months to come.
How much further do you expect these numbers to rise, Peter, from the earthquake?
Well, experience with earthquakes in this region, we will see those numbers rise, sadly, probably quite a lot. And I think one of the challenges, of course, is that there's those that have suffered and lost their lives, but so many people will be injured. There's limited search and rescue operations underway at the moment. So we are going to see over the coming days, if not the coming weeks, that number creep up. And also the first aid, the trauma counselling. These people have lost probably all of their livelihoods and a lot of their loved ones. So now is the time to act.
Okay. Peter Walton, the CEO of Care Australia, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.